Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights, covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone.
Welcome, everybody. So glad you could join me today. This is going to be a fun book. All of us in the metaphysical world have been aware of our auras for sure, but just for those of you who haven't been, we have a wonderful book today called Change Your Aura, Change Your Life. And a bit about it. It's discover your source of unlimited spiritual energy. Everything you think, feel, and do radiates a spiritual energy that comes through in various colors and hues. This is your aura, your spiritual blueprint. By changing the quality of your aura, you change the quality of your life. Whether or not you can see auras, renowned spiritual clairvoyant Barbara Martin, known as the Mozart of Metaphysics, and Dimitri Moraitis, will lead you through a highly effective technique of meditating with divine light to access the source of your auric power, necessary to improve the aura and generate change. Through their nonprofit Spiritual Arts Institute, they've been teaching these spiritual techniques to thousands of students all over the world. Dimitri has been instrumental in bringing Spiritual Arts Institute to the place it is today as the premier metaphysical school for the aura, healing, and spiritual growth. With Barbara, he's co-author of a series of award-winning books that include Heaven and Your Spiritual Evolution, Communing with the Divine, Karma and Reincarnation, The Healing Power of Your Aura, and the new 25th anniversary edition of the international bestseller, Change Your Aura, Change Your Life. Definitely a book you want to read if you're in any way playing around with your aura, your pure personal energy. Welcome to the show, Dimitri.
Thank you, Barbara, for having me on. It's a delight to be here.
Oh, it's lots of fun. You've been on before a long time ago.
Right.
But
it's good to be returning again.
Yes. Nice to know I'm still functioning, and so are you.
Yes, exactly.
But when we were speaking beforehand, you mentioned that Barbara has passed on, and
yeah.
She was an amazing lady, and her ability to bring information through was really quite profound.
Well, they called her the Mozart of Metaphysics because she had so many clairvoyant gifts. And, she was basically born with them, but she kept developing them. That's what we tell people, it's whatever gifts you have to keep working on it. It's like anything, right? You keep getting better over time. And she got her first instruction when she was 11 years old from a Hermetic scientist. It was interesting. The woman was actually, by day, she was a theater stock company director. She ran theater. She put on theater shows, and Barbara was in a play. And one time she called Barbara, little 11-year-old Barbara, in privately and basically told her, "You can see the aura, can't you?" And, Barbara's part of the greatest generation. So no one talked about auras back then. Her mouth dropped. She said, "Is that what it's called?" She didn't even have a name for it.
Wow.
And the woman said, "I can see the aura too. I'm a Hermetic scientist. My mother, grandmother, they're both Hermetic scientists. And I'd like to teach you a little bit about your gifts." So she started teaching her also how to understand because at that point she could see the colors, but she didn't know what they meant. And then the interpretation started opening up. And then years later, she went to Los Angeles because her father was a Greek Orthodox priest and he was a builder of churches. So they're building the church in Pasadena. And she fell in love with Los Angeles. It was during the golden age of Hollywood. You know, she met greats like Cecil B. DeMille and Bob Hope and Lucille Ball and all these greats, you know. She met later, she thought entertainment was going to be her business, but then she met, she realized metaphysics was, and later she met another woman that trained her to be a teacher. And I met her years later, of course. I came to California also for the film business, but I had a very profound spiritual awakening. And not long after that, I met her. And within the first night, I recognized her as my teacher. And we dived in deep. We both loved to write. So we started writing what became the books. But after a while, I didn't realize it at first. I was very happy being her student. She was training me to kind of follow the lineage, to be, you know, to take on after her 10-year past. So she trained me to become a teacher, which took many years too. I tell you, these things don't happen quickly.
No.
And we eventually founded the nonprofit, and we give a home for all these encyclopedic wisdom and the books, as you commented. This is this Change Your Aura book is kind of the flagship book of the Institute because it tells everybody what we do. We meditate with divine light to change our auric field and improve it. That's the foundation of everything. But the other books build on the different metaphysical topics. So one I'm working on now is on consciousness and the aura. So that one's going to be an easy one. I mean, an interesting one. Not easy.
No,
came out that way. Yeah.
No, I just I think the aura is a fascinating subject. I see auras, always have, and what's interesting is I see them with my eyes closed.
Right, because you're not using your physical eyes, you're using the inner eye. And although some say, well, gosh, I saw that blue around that person, you know, they were looking at them. Well, wasn't I seeing them with my eyes? Well, yeah, you were seeing the person with your eyes, but the auric energy you were seeing with the inner eye, and the mind put the two sort of images together. So yes, often, as you probably experience, you can certainly tune into it more vividly when your eyes are closed because you don't have any shall we say, distractions, but you can definitely see it with your eyes open too. Yeah.
Well, I think that's one thing people have to realize, that you don't have to see them to know that they're there.
Exactly. You feel the vibration and you work with it. So as you work with the auric power, then you see the benefits. And many of our students do not actually see the energies, but they feel the tremendous presence of the light and the power and the transformations that are going on. So that's the key here. That other happens kind of as you keep, you know, working on yourself. But the first thing is to get to work with it. As I say, you don't need to see your physical heart to know it's there, you know, but you better make sure you're doing things that are helping your body.
Well, it's interesting because Reiki works with energy, and you know, we are electromagnetic beings, so we are generating an energy field, and it's the colors within that field that tell us things. And
well, yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, definitely what's fascinating is we're not like, sometimes people have a very simplistic picture of the aura. Oh, you're the green, I'm the blue, she's the pink. But we're multifaceted. So the auric energies are multifaceted because there's so much going on with us.
well, it's we are a kaleidoscope of color, and if you are one that can see the colors, you can see them radiating from different spots of your body and stuff like that, which is really kind of exciting. And I know that I guess the first thing, if someone isn't familiar with an aura, let's explain a little bit about what it actually is.
Yeah. So the aura, there's a couple ways to define it. One of the most basic is a vibratory essence that surrounds all living things. So everything, the aura vibrates. The aura is in motion, and we're rating this energy. Everything is. Even this computer I'm looking at right now is radiating a tiny little bit of energy because the life force is moving through it. Another definition is it's the individual expression of the universal life force, meaning the energy of our aura isn't actually first coming from us, it's coming through us.
Yes.
So, and we're not going to all draw on the universal life energy in the same way. So if I'm an artist, I will attract the energies related to that activity. If I'm a scientist, I'll bring in sort of different types of energies. So that's the beauty, viva la différence. We're all doing things a little bit differently. We're all bringing in this unique process. And the third one that's also very important is it's the energetic blueprint of the soul. So people have to remember we're not our body, that we inhabit our body like we're inhabiting a car, as we would describe it. Your body's like your car that you drive around in. The immortal part of us is the soul that's not physical. And the aura is not physical. The aura is the fuel of the soul. So that means everything going on in your life right now, your career, your finances, relationships, thoughts, feelings, all of it is radiating energies corresponding to the quality of that. So if you're very upset about something right now, that's going to create a not so great energy in your auric field, and it's going to look chaotic and disoriented. Yeah. If you're very loving right now, that's going to bring in a beautiful energy. So we are trying to brighten our aura, let go of the aspects of the auric energies that are not so good, meaning the blemishes in our own character. Look, we're not perfect, right? We're going to display some things that are not always so wonderful, but you can release those. We don't have to hang on to those bad habits. We don't have to hang on to that weak sense of character. We can do something about it. And that's the beauty. The whole thing is the aura is really about empowerment, right? So, and if people really realize how much power is really flowing through us, we'd have, I think, a better view of ourselves, because sometimes we kind of put ourselves in little boxes. We think I'm just this little carcass here that's standing in front. It's not even, it's a piece of us, but it's actually the smallest piece compared to the grandeur of what we really are.
Well, people used to say, I'm a light worker, and I'm a, I work with, the light of the spirit, the light of the divine. And by working with that light, you don't, it doesn't come down like a snowball in your hand. It comes through you.
Right.
So it has to come through you. And in order for you to be a light worker, you have to draw that energy through you in order to put it out to other places, to other things within life, so that you have to be a clear channel. You have to have an openness. You have to have a desire to bring it through you. And of course, coming through you, it has to help you first and foremost clear up your own stuff.
Right.
Before you can share it with others. And I think that's what so many people don't understand. If you say you are a light worker, if you are trying to share spiritual energy with other people, it has to come through you. And if you have areas that you're dealing with, that you're struggling with, you have to resolve those first in order to give quality light to other people.
Exactly. You can't channel more light than you yourself can contain.
Exactly.
So if you haven't really built up your own vessel, what's the point? But also you're hitting on, when we first started working with writing the book years ago, we thought, okay, it's an aura book. But very soon we realized, it's not actually an aura book. It's a meditation book on working with the aura. So the whole key is, yes, everyone is receiving the universal energy to some degree today, regardless of who they are. They may not even think of on a spiritual topic at all, but it's just like sunlight, right? It is coming in. But when you start to do it like what you're saying, with more conscious intention, then that starts to bring higher flows. And the meditative practice is a way to draw it in a more systematic way. And that's the beauty. I've been doing the light meditation with the energies for 40 years now. And I was so excited at the beginning. I'm more excited now. It's something that keeps getting better the more you do it over time.
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the questions most people ask is, do animals and plants and
Absolutely.
rocks, grass have auras?
Absolutely.
And
Because they have the universal life energy in them too, and their soul's on the evolutionary path too.
yeah, I think that's what people don't understand. It's not just humans that have this. It's um, everything that does, and especially with animals. You can tell. You can tell when they're not well. You can tell when they're
Oh
happy. You
gosh.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing we don't understand is they there's an evolutionary chain that links us all together, so to speak. The different kingdoms of life, some are more evolved than others. So the human kingdom is more evolved than the animal kingdom, but the animals have the soul too, and they're looking up to the human kingdom. So your pets, it's not just about hugs and kisses and when am I going to get my din din. You know, through the love, you're actually giving them power, and
Oh
they're
yeah.
sort of like spiritual sponges. They absorb that power, and it's actually helping them in their evolution. So we have responsibility to help the animals.
There are moments. It's when am I getting my dinner though?
Well, they don't forget that. They don't forget that. I
No.
remember one funny story with Barbara. And I just met her, and I had some cats in the house, and this one cat was extremely frisky, you know, and he was outside, and he was desperate to get into his food bowl, and we hadn't opened the door, and he basically projected his astral body to the food bowl because he was so determined to go.
Oh,
Sorry, you can't eat it that way, buddy, but shows how in tune they are with their psychic nature.
they definitely are. So for those people who are on a spiritual pathway and don't see auras, how are they going to understand what to work on and what issues that they should
Right,
I mean, you have lots and lots of meditations in the book,
right,
utilizing different colors. But if I'm on a spiritual pathway, a sincere spiritual pathway,
right.
how do I designate what I need the most, and then how to work with it?
Right, right. That's a great question. So, first of all, if you're like you, and I love that you said that, a sincere path, if you're really on the path, that means you've already had an inner spiritual quickening. You've already had some experience. It may not have been a clairvoyant experience. It may not have been, oh, I saw an angel or I saw the divine light, but you had something that was directly connecting you to something of the inner spiritual worlds. And now you're on this road to try and develop it. So the thing is, first of all, pursue it. That is not an accident. That's God knocking on your door. So you want to follow through with that, because that's going to lead you to some extraordinary places. Now, two things with what you're saying. First, I want to start with a simple, and sometimes people don't associate it with the path, but look at yourself. Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. So
Yeah.
you start by being honest with you. My father was actually not into metaphysics, but he was a psychiatrist. So my brother and I, we were trained from a very young age to look at our motivation for things. Why am I doing what I'm doing? But it's actually paved the way for now, because it makes me want to, okay, if I understand this really is a weakness, or this really is a strength, or I'd like to build up this part of my life more, if I'm honest with myself, then that's the starting point. Well, let's take a very practical thing. Let's say I'm trying to build up my finances. I'm not happy with where I am financially right now. Well, I maybe some will be surprised to understand there is a energy of prosperity in the auric field, and it comes through as this beautiful turquoise ray, the consciousness of wealth and abundance. Too many times we get into that poverty consciousness, that lack and limitation. Oh, I don't have enough. I'm broke, and that actually, unfortunately, has the ability of reinforcing that belief. The more you get into that energy. We have seen people walk into towns basically penniless, and in a relatively short period of time amass wealth, because they had that consciousness of wealth to do
Yes.
that. So you can bring in these energies, start to get out of that poverty consciousness, get into that wealth consciousness, but then you still got to go out there and do it. This is not the genie. This is not waving the magic wand and suddenly all troubles disappear. We have to remember our challenges in our life are our opportunities if we look at them in the right light. And as we conquer them, we are 10 times the person we were before, and we've changed that part of our life.
Yeah, I tell people that my wand is in the shop.
Well, after Harry Potter, everybody wants to have one, right?
That would be nice. So how does one, and how do you have the wonderful meditations in the book for everything.
Right.
And it's sort of like, how do you determine where to go first? Is there an overall meditation? Is there, I mean, everybody,
right.
we're here for lots of different reasons. We're here to learn a lot of different things. And so far as I can tell, nobody is perfect yet. I think if you're perfect, you're not here, is basically. So it's sort of like, where do you start?
Right. So one of the things we recommend, well, first of all, there is a little bit of a technique. So as you know, what we teach in the book is the technique of meditating. So I used to play a lot of piano. You don't just sit down and play the piano concertos. You got to build up the technique in your fingers before you can play them, right? So there is a little bit, and it's more than just a mantra or an intention. There is a little bit of a technology. So, but that we teach to say that in our foundation course. But then what we encourage when you first start, and it's outlined in the book, of course, is maybe take like a week-long self-survey of yourself without judgment. Watch how you behave in a particular week and see where the squeaky wheels are. Sometimes we're so immersed in the day, we don't self-contemplate. So let's say I take the week and I realize, gosh, I got angry 5 times for no real reason this week. Why the heck did I do that? Well, there's your starting point. Or I'm really worried about this relationship right now. I think it's not going to work out. I've been thinking about it all week long. Well, start there. So you generally start with where the most urgent need is, or it could be a longing or a desire to connect better with something. So the beauty is with this type of meditating, there's an intention to begin with. Like you said, you can't focus on everything in one moment. You're not going to change everything in your life in a day, but take the piece that you want to start to see the change with, and then stick with it for a little while. It is extremely satisfying. I'll give you an example of this. One of our students had a very practical problem. She was physically afraid of crossing physical bridges. She had a palpable fear of crossing physical bridges. And she had to cross 3 to get to work every day. So this was not a little issue, right?
Yeah.
And she went to therapy. It sort of helped. It didn't really help. And then this didn't happen overnight, but over like 3-4 months of working with the energies and changing the aura, she said, one day I went to work and I forgot that I even crossed the 3 bridges. It was not even an issue. That's the transformations that you're seeking, right? And then you start to say, hey, wait a minute, this is really working. And then it motivates you to try some of the bigger fish. Maybe you have a bad habit you're trying to conquer, or it doesn't matter what it is. We each have our own strengths and weaknesses, but the goal is you want to use your strengths to transmute your weaknesses.
Yeah, I from time to time will catch myself and say, I think I could have done that better.
Yeah. We have to be in the mystery schools in the ancient days, you do your work during the day, you'd have your communal meal, and then you'd have contemplation time. Like doing what you just said. Well, how did I handle things today?
Yeah.
Today we're so fast paced, and then we don't go to sleep. We crash to sleep, that we don't do any reflection. And I think the ancient days made it a little easier because there was no electricity. So when it got dark, it got dark. Life just sort of slowed down, but then you could get a little more internal. Now we could always be on, and that's made us a little bit, sometimes potentially less in touch with the inner. It doesn't have to be, but just be careful you're not letting the busyness of your life get the better of you. And now we're moving into an age where that's going to accelerate with all that's going on now in the technologies. And so we have to learn to find our center more than ever before now to stay in our own oneness.
Well, I think being honest with yourself is one of the most important things.
Yeah.
And everybody has issues that they deal with. It's not, again, perfect is just not in the scheme of things here, but consciousness as well. So working with white light and then working with the different colors is really important. And sometimes, wouldn't you think that just working with a color, even though you don't know there's an issue, can help you along?
Well, certainly just, shall we say, getting to know you. Like in the book, excuse me, we have 10 energy rays. Now, white, of course, is the most famous, and it is a very uplifting energy. But sometimes it's actually in the auric field hard to maintain that energy because it is so exalted, right? So, for example, the most dynamic, if you need more dynamic energy, you work with the gold light. If you need more love, it's the deep rose pink. So there all these have. So yes, in the beginning, you're kind of bringing some of these energies in to just feel their glory, the power of them. But they are meant to also be practical. We're not doing this for curiosity's sake. We're doing this to evolve our soul, so we can accentuate a strength, or we can use it to do a weakness. And then also maybe what you're also bringing up here, we added some new chapters in this last edition, and one of them was a very mystical chapter on the transcendent consciousness. So meaning, okay, I am working, I am bettering myself, I am doing what you said, I'm looking at myself, I'm more honest with myself, and I keep walking on this path. Is that it? Is that the ultimate goal? And no, there is a higher goal to transcend the whole physical consciousness itself. The Hindus had a beautiful metaphysics around this. They would, call the kind of mesmerization of the physical world the world of Maya, the world of illusion. And we're trying to wake up out of that consciousness to the reality, the Brahman, the ultimate reality. And we are like drops trying to return to the ocean of life. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do. But we do that not by evading the challenges and opportunities of life. We do it by mastering them and maturing in them.
Well, I read straight through the book.
Oh, wow. It's gotten a little hefty now through the years.
More than it used to be, yes. But if one gets the book, I would personally recommend that as you come to each of them, spend 2 weeks on each color and work with that color, because it would seem to me that you would find areas where things felt smoother or felt better, or other areas where you were expanding, but it would give you an idea as to what each color feels like. And also, in a way, you would learn where you need to have more work done.
That could be a very good idea. And I should mention one other piece to this. It's an interesting, like if you were to do that, to bring in, let's say, the love ray for 2 weeks, it can't be just bringing it in. You have to employ the power. So that means you're going to be the most loving person for the next 2 weeks, and you can't get mad at anybody. Or the most dynamic. In other words, you embody. A lot of people ask us in meditation about the meditation is, how long do I meditate and how many rays to bring in? Well, as far as the bringing in, it's how well do you can't bring in more power than you can employ. So if you're starting out these, it's also that journey of self-discovery. A funny story about Benjamin Franklin. He didn't know the aura, but he wanted to work on each of his character traits for a week. Yeah. So 1 week it was humility. So he spent all week just on humility. And at the end of it, he wrote in the book, I don't think I'll ever master humility. If I did, I'd be so darn proud of myself.
Well, it's to me, for those who cannot see the aura, living it is a good way of getting used to understanding it better. And a day, forget. You got to do it for a couple of weeks in order to really feel the impact of how it impacts your life. And I would keep a journal.
Yeah, journal's a great idea. Because journaling in general is a good idea, but it would help to see the change, like you're saying.
And then after you've done all of the colors, then you can sit back and say, okay, where do I feel I need to go for a little more work? Because that's, you want to address areas that you feel you really need to have work in. And for those people who do see auras, how do I put this? I would throw a cautionary card on the table in that if you can't see darkness, or, you know, I guess darkness is the best word, or grayness or whatever, don't interpret it to the extreme, because it could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So how do you explain to someone, I see a disturbance in the force?
That's a very good observation, Barbara. So I'd like to start on a note here. Again, having the benefit of worked with somebody at the level skill set that had it, there's a huge difference between being, let's say, what we might call a natural clairvoyant and a trained clairvoyant.
Yes.
They are not even close to the same thing. Again, Barbara saw her first aura at age 3, her first training at age 11. She wasn't teaching until almost 40 years old, right? So there's a long period of training. I started with her, I forget what age I was right now, but it was many years before I stepped into the teacher role. So these things happen over time because, like you're saying, you may have a genuine experience, but you don't really know exactly what happened because there are layers going on here. You could be seeing your own energy field. You could be seeing something floating in the room. There's too many things until you learn how to discern. So what we like to say with our students, now, if you get anything chilling, you put your protection around you. But generally, we tell people when they've had, let's say, a good experience, oh, I saw the blue and it turned to pink and then there was red. And what does that all mean? Rather than get over analytical about it, we like to say, well, take it as God tapping on your shoulder saying, you're doing a good job. But exactly like you said, don't over analyze it. There's too many variables involved here. And if it is an inspiration that's telling you to keep moving forward, then it's more than done its job. And you had earned it. You know, people who come in with talents, they earn it in past lives. It didn't just happen. True. So if you happen to have that, now it is true, as you tend to meditate with the light, if you have come in with natural clairvoyance, it does tend to actually increase. And there's also a cautionary note there too. Don't let your ego get into the picture, because then you start to think you're the cat's meow, and that sets up a whole other set of problems. Yeah.
Well, I think, I guess my best example is standard tarot. And I did a long time ago, I did psychic fairs, and I could see people spreading the cards, and someone would see the death card upside down, and the person would say, oh God, somebody's going to die, and they would leave.
Oh God.
And the death card doesn't mean the death of a person. It could be a concept. It could be an idea. It could be it could be the ending of something and the beginning of something else spectacular. And I think that with people with auras, especially if you see a darkness somewhere, it's an area to be more observant of, is something going on in your life that will affect you in this particular spot? Because if there is, we can, mediate some of the energetic fields so you can deal with something better. It doesn't mean death. It doesn't mean the end of something. It doesn't mean, demons are at you or anything like that. It means you're working in areas. I think that what happens is people think the absolute worst of something without going into what could cause this. And that's my only cautionary thing.
Discernment. Now, another thing, let's say you do walk into, let's say it's a very beautiful home, but you get this chilling feeling, or maybe you see an unpleasant energy in there. Now, that could mean there's a problem there. But the house is beautiful. It may be beautiful, but maybe something horrible happened in the house, right? So, yes, so you do want to be, if you get any of those hairs up the back of your head kind of a thing, you want to pay attention to it, because like anything in life, there are unpleasant energies out there. We don't live in a perfect world right now. And sometimes, this is why you want to put your spiritual armor around you. We talk a lot about, or teach a lot about the golden light of protection,
Yeah.
which you want to keep around you. But again, you could be living in Fort Knox. If you open the front door, people can come in. So be careful. Nothing or no one can enter your aura unless somewhere you're permitting it. So be careful what you're permitting in your life. You do want to be careful. You want the best. We all know when we have a beautiful exchange with others, it's a very elevating feeling. The energies are exchanging beautifully. If we're fighting with somebody, we feel exhausted afterwards because it was a tearing of energy, right? Barbara was saying, as a little girl, I didn't know what the colors meant, but I sometimes saw my parents arguing, and it was scary to see these discordant energies going between them. So
Yeah.
we have, the beauty, the aura doesn't lie. What's really going on with us is in our aura. And that goes back to your earlier statement of being honest with yourself. So, but also honesty doesn't mean to say, if you recognize something not so refined or good, that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that. It just means this muscle is weak and I have to do something about it.
Yeah. No, I know that that there are people that I guess it's ego. That they think they know exactly what it is, and it's not. You have to be very careful that you approach those kind of situations with a great deal of care and insight and love.
Humility. There's a lot to learn in this journey, a lot to learn. Thank God there is. That's what makes it exciting. Barbara was working up to her last day on this planet.
Was she?
Yeah. Night before we were doing, now, yes, it slowed down quite a bit by then, but we were doing work. Yeah. And next morning, God bless her, God called her home. It was a very quiet transition, but led an extraordinary life. So she taught me, I have friends now, I'm getting to that age where some of my friends are retiring from the work that they knew, and they'll look at me like, well, what are you doing? No, I'm working full speed, but I love what I do. It's not really work.
What was it? Somebody once said, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, sure, it'd be nice to take a few extra trips here and there, do some stuff, but you'll get the balance. But this work, the beauty of it, first of all, as you know, it's so needed right now. We are in a time when there's a lot of spiritual awakening happening, and there's a thirst right now more than ever before, and that's only going to happen more as the years move on.
Oh yeah, no, I mean the level of consciousness is expanding, not only on a well, it's expanding on a global level, and people are suddenly asking questions that they never asked before.
Yeah.
And they're ready for answers that they wouldn't have gotten before. So
right. So I consider that a maturing in the field, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you talk about higher consciousness and finding that portal within that takes you to the spirit within, that takes you to the divine source of all creation, I mean, that channel is there and everybody has it, and it is a matter of light. And so that this book comes at a wonderful time when people can actually work on balancing themselves so that they can find that link that they're seeking to get to the divine source.
Yeah, it's interesting when, because this is the 25th anniversary edition of it, and when it first came out, actually we were on a podcast, and at that time a lot of people were the New Age movement was really full throttle, and people were really interested. Oh, am I going to get that job? Am I going to find that person? It was very day-to-day stuff, and they thought the aura would help them. How can I have better sex with the aura? It was things like that. And now, as you're saying, when this came out, it's a whole different playing field. Now they're asking, how can I evolve my soul? So that is a wonderful change that's happening.
That's I think one of the things that I am so impressed with, because I've been doing counseling readings for over 50 years now.
Oh my goodness.
And you're right. It used to be finding my love life, finding the job, when am I going to make money? It was all very physically oriented, questions that were getting thrown at me. And over the years, it's changed. And now people are, how can I, get to working with the spirit that's within me in order to enhance certain aspects of life? And it's level of consciousness they're looking for now, not the other stuff,
Right.
which
Right.
I love, because I'd rather talk about that than,
Well, of course, yeah. But also, look, things that were very fringe years ago, even meditation, are
oh,
so
yeah.
mainstream now. I mean, there's apps for meditation. It's a different mindset now than it was then. But that's the way it took the pioneers to help make that happen. Over time, things keep building, and it's exciting to see that happening. Yeah, as Barbara would say, there's never been a better time to grow spiritually than today.
Oh,
So we've got to
absolutely.
take that yoke of light and move ourselves forward, and don't look back. There's a lot to look forward to.
I would like very much to see meditation of some sort built into the school system.
Yeah. I live in Encinitas, which is a yoga town here in San Diego, and they help to foster yoga in schools a little bit, and even quiet time. It's crept in a little bit, but the fact that it was able to reach in at all is kind of remarkable. That some way, I know they don't call it prayer time, they call it quiet time now with kids, right? You can have your quiet time.
Yeah.
I am amazed that some of the students, their children, express a genuine interest in this. You would think, kids have so many options today, that the souls that are coming in now, I think, are stronger than ever in terms of what their spiritual potential is. And we're going to need it, because there's going to be a lot of dynamics happening in the world next 20, 30 years, and we need stronger souls than ever.
I taught special ed.
Oh,
and for 25 years. And
oh, wow.
At one point, I was at a place where I would start the day with deep breath and let go.
Oh, what a nice way to start. That's great. And they loved it, right? They went for it.
They did, and it calmed them down.
Yeah. Oh,
of course,
wow.
Having bells ring at the beginning and end of each period and stuff like that didn't help a lot, but but it made it
a gentle ding, time to end the class.
Exactly. But it was, to integrate it just a little bit, to get them centered, to get things quiet, so that we could do whatever it was we were going to do. It was a wonderful time.
Well, and you helped, I'm sure, a lot of kids. Yeah.
A lot of kids.
Uh-oh. Busy time.
A lot of kids, and so if someone, like you said, meditation is not something you jump into with both feet, and you don't aim at doing it for 45 minutes to an hour a day. What would you suggest for people who are on a spiritual pathway, who realize that they need to incorporate a form of meditation into their practice? I want to throw in also the thought that creativity is very important for the enhancement of the spirit, and so that creativity of some sort is important as well. But if they were going to start a practice, how would you suggest they do it?
Right. Well, there's, of course, many different meditation types to suit the temperament. What are your goals? Now, our meditation practice is called the higher self meditation, because through your higher self, you're accessing the divine light in a specific way. So that's what we teach at the Institute. But our fundamental is, first of all, meditation is a foundational practice in metaphysics. It's not like a little add-on. It's the core of it, because it's your time to connect with the inner life, and it really needs to be daily. Now, you could start even as simple as 20 minutes a day, but then it does start to build, because, it's like if you work out at the gym, your first 20 minutes, you're just warming up the body. And then you're getting into the real exercise part. It's the same with meditation. So, but even more important than the length is the depth. Are you able to disconnect from the cares of your life, and stay focused? Because the idea is you're getting into an experience of the light. An experience doesn't have to be clairvoyant. The Dalai Lama, years ago, he asked the scientific community to do some research on his monks. They used to call them Olympic meditators because they had accumulated like 60,000 hours of meditation, right? And the scientists, just looking at the brain facet of it, found fascinating things. And this one neuroscientist expressed it really well. He said, imagine you take a delicious bite of an apple and the effect on the brain. Well, these monks were operating at that level all the time. And when they went into meditation, it went off the scale. And they deduced that if you were to meditate half hour a day for 3 months steady, there's a discernible physiological change in your brain for the better. So consistency is the key. Just like you brush your teeth every day, because life does throw its zingers, and you got to keep finding that center. And eventually those zingers don't have so much effect because you're there. Now, once in a while, you may not be able to. And my other recommendation is make it the centerpiece of the day. Don't do it when you're so exhausted at night and you just fall asleep in the meditation, or you're so hungry in the morning you can't concentrate. Yogananda used to say you don't want to be too hungry or too full, too tired, or too energetic. You kind of want to be in that middle state.
Yeah.
And very alert whenever that is for you, because some people are more night people, others are more. I do my primary meditation in the morning, and it really gets my day going. And then then when you're finished, go and do your life, but try to carry that energy with you in the day. Whatever you chose to work on, carry that with you. We had a doctor in one of the classes. He confessed, I see so many patients every day. I don't have a lot of compassion for them. So he had to work with the pink ray, but he had to be compassionate. And at the end of the course, he came back and said, gosh, not only am my patients loving it, they're telling me I have much better bedside manners now. My practice is busier than ever. So being the thing that you're calling, as Gandhi would say, be the change you want to see in the world. So
exactly.
Be that expression of it yourself. The aura, the energies of the aura will give you the power to do that. And that ties into your second question about creativity, because we are all inherently creative. You don't have to be a Leonardo or a Michelangelo to be that. We're all inherently creative by design, and you've got to express that creative power. There is an actual area of the aura that's connected to talents and abilities, which means it's built into the system. And so leave room for that in your life. If you're feeling things are a little dull, a little mundane, a little repetitive, shake it up. Be creative. Find something brand new, and that will create a sense of excitement. But also remember, every one of us is making our own contribution to life. So what you're giving is only you can give it. But if you're not giving it, how are we going to get it? So you got to put it out there. So don't be afraid to take chances and be bold in this world. What is the saying saying? Fortune favors the bold.
Well, also with people who are seeking something, no matter what it is, and if you become the kind of person that, well, let's look at relationships. If you become the kind of person that you want to attract into your life, you will, because it magnetizes yourself. And you do this amazing work. Meditation helps you to project what it is you want to be, you're striving to be. And the more you strive, the more you become. So it's important to have a focus. I know a lot of people were trying at one point. I had a meditation class, and somebody at one point said, "Oh, I think I'm meditating now." And I said, "No, if you're thinking, you're not meditating." And so it's like, it's I've often said prayer is talking, meditation is listening.
Yeah, we very much like prayers petitioning, meditating is receiving. Same idea.
Yeah.
And actually our work is a combination, because we do make those prayer requests. So there is a petitioning of the divine, but then when you're receiving, yes, you have to let that come into you. And some people, they're not ready to let go of their resentments or angers. They're not ready to let go. We sometimes can be comfortable in our miseries. And we have to say it's time to say goodbye to these things, and because the light won't come in unless you're permitting it. So you have to welcome the power into you, and then you will see those changes. Yes, absolutely.
I want to kind of get back to you. We spoke a little bit about houses, and
Oh, yeah.
they hold energy. And I know when I was looking for a house many years ago, I would be able to stand outside a house and say to the realtor, "This is not a happy house. I don't want this one." And
That's
she would
actually
look at
very
me like,
important. I have a kind of I know it's a funny story, but a house I bought years ago, it was a probate. The person that had owned it died, and it was a rush to get in there. And Barbara said, "You bet, make sure you clear that house out before you get in there." And I didn't, and here I am. First night I'm sleeping in the living room on the floor, and all the boxes are around me, and there's kind of this bay window, looking outside. And in the morning, I wake up and there are these two hands choking me like this,
"Oh
as
my
hard
goodness."
as they can, like this. And I'm first thinking, oh my God, this is one crazy dream. But I'm awake, I'm not sleeping. And then I can kind of see his face. It's this man, and it took a while to kind of shake this apparition. And it turned out to be the guy that died in the house. He never left. And
Oh,
he thought I was an invader on his property, and he was trying to defend his property. And it took even with help with Barbara, it took like 3 days to convince him it's time to go home. It's time to follow the angels home. You're not of the earth plane. He was going to build his family there. They had all these dreams. Yeah,
oh,
it was a sad story. He had, Agent Orange. He died of the complications of Agent Orange. So yes, it was a tragedy. But at the same time, it taught me exactly what you said. There is really vibration everywhere you're in. And you want to make sure you're creating, especially the houses you're living in, that's your sanctuary. And
oh
you
yeah.
want the light to be exactly the way you need it.
So I mean, while the house is not a living entity, it does have and holds energy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, I saw you had a cat there. Cats are extremely in tune with energy. So they can also sometimes help you if there's not so great spirits around.
Yeah, I noticed she was playing around there a while back. She's back.
Oh, they're so in tune. We used to have cats ourselves, and they were a lot of fun. They were a lot of fun.
Well, I really believe, if you're able to have a pet, that you should have one.
Mm-hmm.
It's somebody to talk to.
Yeah, and you're helping them too. It's a two-way street. They give you love, and you help them too. It's a marvelous relationship.
Well, and again, energy work. If you're doing your own energy work, if you're able to feel the energy in your hands, I mean, all you have to do is rub your hands together and you feel the energy. You know the energy is there, even though you don't see it. So it's sort of like I know it can be. It feels daunting to not be able to see the colors, but rather feel them. And if the more you work with yourself, the more, and especially with your eyes closed, as far as I'm concerned, you begin to see them far more clearly. And once you can see your own, then it feels to me, I feel once you can see your own, you can see other people's. It is something that just kind of spreads out.
Well, once you see it, you're definitely more inspired to pursue it because it's not a question mark. It's there. But again, we do want to urge you don't need to see it to work with it, and the benefits of it are so stupendous. And also it becomes again a part of your life. I can't think of like this not being a part of my. Of course, I've been doing it so long, but still, it's hard to imagine not a part of your life. Yeah.
Well, I said to somebody once, what color? Oh, I know what it was. It was a bunch of girls, and they said, "How do we pick out what guy at the bar to?" And I said, "Ask them what their favorite color is and what color."
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
And
Oh, you're making that's Barbie used to joke, don't buy a car from someone wearing avocado green, they'll try to cheat you because avocado green is the color of deceit.
yes, and if they pick a certain color, they're ego based, and maybe you don't want that. And and the color they don't want to have around them will tell you something too. And actually, they said it worked. It worked pretty well. It never occurred to me that I'd use it as thoroughly as they did, but
they wanted a little hint. Also helps to talk to them, find out what's going on.
that too. But if you start out with what's their favorite color, you know how to talk to them as well.
The pickup line, as they say, right? Or maybe not. It depends on they respond.
A pick out.
A pick outline. That's a good one, Barbara. A pick outline. I like that.
I mean,
it's the title of a new book, The Pick Outline.
Well, actually, I mean, while all of this is spiritually wonderful, it doesn't mean you can't use it in your everyday life too.
Well, it's all part of the same.
Yeah.
The spiritual and the physical are all part of the same big, great life. You're employing the spirit in everything you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So all right, maybe going to a bar.
Well, you may want to be careful while you're looking for your in a bar. That might be the first challenge.
Well, yeah, that's another part. That's a whole nother ball of wax.
A lot of people are afraid to go out to just, what do they say? Sometimes you have to kiss a few frogs to find your prince or princess. You've got to make yourself available. That's number one. And they're also, rather than look at, do I want somebody that looks like this? You were kind of saying it with before, visualization. You visualize the qualities. What kind of a person are you looking for? Kindness, humor, fun-loving. What is it you want? That's the quality you're getting there. And then that will help to bring, because there's a compatibility aurically too. Sometimes people are physically attracted to each other, but the auric energies are not blending. And other times it's a beautiful blend. And you can see, this is going to be a great couple.
Well, I've often told people, don't look. Do what gives you the greatest joy.
Mm-hmm.
And that will attract someone who has a similar joy.
Exactly.
And then you've got, a foundation to work from.
Right.
But if you're on the hunt, then you're obviously not working on your own life.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. I just noticed our time. We are out of it. Let's give them the
30,000 review. Yeah. The kind of, basically two things. Number one, we truly encourage, if you are not yet meditating, whether you do the meditation offer in the book or something else, please make it a more direct part of your life. It's a real, and as Barbara said, it has to be sincere. This has to be really dedicated time to the divine. It'll change your life in multiple ways.
Absolutely.
And just also in the spiritual journey. This is not accidental if you've had your awakening. So keep doing everything to keep pursuing it. Keep making it a higher priority in your life.
And how will they get a hold of your website?
The institute is Spiritual Arts Institute. The website is spiritualarts.org. And the book is Change Your Aura, Change Your Life.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure.
Likewise, Barbara. Likewise. God bless.
Bye now. Bye-bye now.